And the recording has started. Hello, everyone.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
It's awesome. And for those just joining us this week, I'm Lauren, and I'm the Director of Development here at PassionPod.
I'm Allie. I'm the Director of Marketing and PR.
And I'm Tosca. I'm the founder of PassionPod and the CEO, and I direct movies occasionally.
Woohoo! So how has your guys' week been this week?
Great. I've finally finished Gabriel's Inferno Part 1.
That's very exciting.
Yay! Now it's in the hands of some other people as they wrap up the last little bits of closed captioning and subtitles, and then they have to do something called QC, which is quality control, and make sure that it plays on various screens in the way that it's supposed to be played, and then we're able to release it on time without stress.
Yay! Awesome.
People are gonna freak out. This is a really good one.
Yeah, so good.
And you, Rylee?
Yeah, we did the Wicked cast announcements.
Yeah.
So that's been awesome. The reaction's been great. We're really excited. I know a lot of people have been asking when we're going to be able to film it, and it's still just, we have to wait till it's safe for everybody to get on set, but that's the plan still, to get back into filming right away when we can.
Absolutely. We're searching for places that we can go and how everyone would feel comfortable with it. Obviously, we're not going to do anything until we have the all clear and everyone's very comfortable with it, but we're eager to jump back in. And you, Lauren, how was your week?
It's good. I reached out to quite a few authors that had been on my list for a while. You know, in development, you go through these phases of like, okay, cool, I just discovered this author, so I'm gonna like read the book, then reach out. And then there's other authors that you read like eons ago, and you're like, oh my God, I haven't talked to them in forever. So I've been reconnecting with some people that have been on our list, which has been exciting. So we might have some fun announcements soon. I'm also diving maybe way too deep into Kristen Proby. The poor angel has been so sweet to me. I was like, so cool, can you send me the entire Easy Love series, which is 6 books, because I loved the first book so much, but it's a family of 6 kids, and I mean 6 adult children, and each book is them finding love, you know how the pattern goes. But I wanted to, so I read the second book yesterday. It took me just the day, Easy Charm, which was also very sweet. And it takes place in New Orleans and a little bit outside New Orleans. So we have more in New Orleans, but that might be a series that I'll pitch to you over some of her other ones, just because the family is super
I thought you said you were going to pitch to me over a bottle of wine. I was like, sure, I'll take them. Let's do it.
Over a bottle of wine, over some of her other ones. But I chatted with her as well, and she said that that's probably her favorite series of the ones that she's written, which was
Hi, Margie.
Hi, Margie.
Margie in the background. I'm in my glass bowl.
And then this past weekend, for fun, I read this historical romance, because that's my jam, called The Rakeess, which, if you guys want to read The Rakeess by Scarlett Peckman, it's so good, like so brilliant. So basically it's a woman as the rake this time, and the guy is this sweetheart, and it's just, they swap the gender roles in such a really cool way, and they're fighting for women's rights at the same time in like 18th century or 7th.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
What country?
England.
What country?
It's Regency.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
good.
My jam. But yeah, that's a good book too, if you guys need something fun to read.
I'm obsessed with reading, and you guys know this right now, I'm just like all over the Amy Benson series.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. You've been.
I gotta go through the whole thing, and I'm imagining all the different places that we would film it and how we're doing it, and I'm like, how do I build all these things? How do we find some of these places? So I don't know, but it's a great little suspense, I guess.
I started Jody Ellen's new book that just came out.
Nice.
Yeah, I like it so far.
That's on my list.
Well, Jody Ellen Mulp.
I can always count on her.
Queen.
I also read Love Under Quarantine, which is the Kylie.
Yeah, I want to read it.
It's actually really good. It's really good, although there were parts of it where I was like, might be too soon to use the quarantine, but maybe not. But like it's very sweet. It's about a romance novelist, and I believe it released, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything. But it's a romance novelist, lives next door to this doctor, but his friend who's a football player is staying in his apartment while he's overseas, and they see each other on, you know, their balconies that are close to each other, and they spark up conversation, and then they go get groceries together, and then it's this whole like they wait 14 days and then they decide to move in together. It's really cute. It was a really nice distracting.
I think it's great that they did that. Yeah, it probably helps them to write something and come up with a happy ending during this time.
And they cranked it out so fast. It was a really fun read. I'd recommend that one as well. And maybe down the line we can try to option it or something, but it was really cool.
I'd love to be able to film it somehow. I don't know how to film something in quarantine.
I know.
except for this. So, well, that's exciting. It's an exciting week. I mean, it's been super crazy busy on my end. Like we're still pulling 12, 13-hour days finishing these movies, and then also like constantly coming up with new plans and new ideas as to how we're going to pick up when the year starts again. Right. So, you know, 2020, come on, somebody, let's start again.
We're ready.
Yeah. Well, we have the lovely Olivia Applegate joining us today. Our lovely Rylee from Driven, and also recent director of The Naughty List. I see that she's in our waiting room right now, so if we're feeling ready, I'll admit her.
Yeah.
Sweet. Here she comes. Hey!
Hello. You look perfectly awesome.
Oh, you guys, today is the first day I've worn makeup in, not gonna say.
But it looks so good on you.
Thank you. I haven't forgotten how to do it, as it turns out. I thought I might have, you know.
Yeah, it's so much work.
I did. Oh man, I had to do my hair yesterday because I had a self-tape audition. So my hair was done.
And it's lighter.
It's a little lighter. Yeah, because all of the dark hair dye is washed out. This is like the natural.
But it's nice and long. Keep it that way.
I know. We're going to keep it long, you guys. Yay, very exciting.
Well, how have you been doing? What have you been doing in quarantine? Are you still working and stuff somehow?
Guys, well, you know, what a wild and crazy time in human history, right? Like what?
Totally.
So a day job I have is that I teach acting, and so I've been teaching still Zoom classes a couple days a week. So that's nice. It like helps me remember what day of the week it is and stuff, which is good. But otherwise, I'm taking a creative writing class, which has been really fun. I like that. And coincidentally, what might be coming out of it is a YA romance novel that I happen to be writing.
Love
so we'll see. I'll keep you guys
really
attuned to whatever happens there. But yeah, so I've been doing that. And then I've been baking a lot, which means that we've also been running a lot. I'm actually going for a run after this because I just made like a mango crumble cake the other day. Like we've gotten advanced. We're eating like we've had to limit me to like 2 baking projects a week because we were going a little ham. So
we're baking at my house. We're baking banana chocolate chip streusel muffins at least once a week.
Oh,
Lauren here.
Heavenly.
They're so good. But my kids they help. They help make the mess. They help eat them. But it's a requirement now on the weekend that we have to cook it. Otherwise, we have to bake them. And once I got to bake blueberry muffins, but every other weekend it's banana chocolate chip streusel.
Oh, that sounds so good.
I think I want that recipe, Tosca.
So good, I'll send it to you.
I think I want it.
and then you really have to go for a run.
Yeah. No, really, we're running every other day because that's like
good.
The only way we can
bake.
Keep up.
I can't bake for that reason. I'll eat everything.
Yeah,
I'll eat everything.
Don't do it because I just broke the seal on that, and it's been like.
I've made the mistake of baking 2 cakes since quarantine, and I just after this last one I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's so easy because I just cheat with the box mix, but then like you have a cake for weeks. I
just
good.
The problem is we don't have it for weeks. My hunger grows in direct proportion with the amount of food available. Like, you know what I mean? So if there is, like, for example, this mango streusel thing that I made, we ate it the day it was made, from top to bottom, the whole thing. So my sugar dragon is fierce. We like her, but we go running. So yeah.
Hey man, you're balancing it. I love it.
What are you gonna do? We're in quarantine.
Yeah. We're coming out with a quarantine 15, I guess, right?
Quarantine 15, that's fair.
That's a nice low.
I want to go down.
I'll
go down. I gained 15 while working on Gabriel's Inferno in Syracuse, by the way.
Oh,
so now I'm like, come on. You
guys were hibernating. It was freezing.
It was the winter months, exactly. She was trying to stay warm.
That's what winter is for. Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So to start, Olivia, I thought we could start, right from the very first, of how you first got into acting and now later directing. If you could tell a little bit about that, how you got into this biz.
Sure.
From the small town in Texas.
From the small town in Texas. Yeah, well, actually, really, it started out, as legend has it, I auditioned for the church musical when I was like 3. And I remember, for whatever reason, the auditions were being held, like everybody auditioned in front of everybody else. And I just was told to stand there and say, I want the sheets with the balloons on them. And I said it, and then everybody clapped. And I was like, what else can I say? Like, I wanted to say everything. So my love of performance started around 3. And then I did theater growing up, like in middle school and high school primarily. But then I was like a good student and I had a lot of interests. And so when I was going to college, I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna not do the arts. I think that's impractical. I think I'm gonna be pre-law. So what I ended up studying was philosophy in college.
Wow.
And then it was actually sort of a serendipitous thing that got me back into acting. So I made a friend in college who was an actor, and he got a casting notice for this film, and he was like, Olivia, you are the breakdown for this lead character. I think you have to audition for this. And I was like, I'm retired, at 19. I'm like, I don't do that anymore or whatever. And but he convinced me to go to this open casting call, and then I ended up booking the lead in this thing. Wow. And then at the same time, I got scouted for America's Got Talent with my guitarist. Yeah, and so back to back, I booked the lead in the movie and then was on this reality TV show as a singer. And then that all got me reps out in Los Angeles. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'm okay. We're doing it. Never mind. So it was kind of magical. I feel like it was meant to be. I was like resisting the call, and then it was like, no, you're an artist. You got to go do your artist thing. So
yeah. I remember early on when anytime that my goal was always to be in film and always to make movies. And anytime that I sort of was like, no, maybe I should just do something that's a little bit more guaranteed and less risky, then you're like, okay, and I go and do that, and basically can hold that down for about 3 months before something just happens and I'm back in film. I'm like, how did I? But I made the decision to go in the other direction, and then something just you get offered a movie or whatever it is, and you're like, okay, I'm back. Here we go.
Yeah, she's a fickle mistress. She really yeah, but that's hilarious that you had the same experience, because I was really like not gonna do it because I was like, no, it's impractical.
Yeah.
But then it followed me around, and I was like, I think I have to. Yeah,
that's awesome. And then how did you get first? Because you directed The Naughty List for us, but that wasn't your first time directing, was it?
So it was like, I guess that would be my first like proper directing gig where I was hired to do something, and it wasn't me like producing and directing and spending my own money.
Lauren was the producer on that.
Yes, Lauren who was incredible. God bless you. My gosh.
And the writer.
And the writer.
And the writer.
Ah.
I mean, Lauren is the magic glue behind the naughty list, everyone. Just
Magically
so
behind
know.
Passion Flicks.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And then we edited some of it together, Olivia, before Mark
We did.
fixed it.
We were both in the editing room. Like, I think part of the real value of this directing gig that you guys gave me, and I mean, there's so much value in it, and I have endless gratitude because, oh my gosh, that was so cool to be able to do. But Lauren and I were in the editing room for this thing, and we were both like feeling like babies. Like, I was like such a baby director. She was like, I feel like a baby editor, and we're like, we can do this. But like, you know, we spent like 4 days getting this rough cut together that we were proud of, and then we sent it to Margie, and in like 6 hours, she's like made a whole new edit, and it's glorious. And we're like, yes.
That's the one that I
had an assistant
that one looks
editor
great.
find better stock footage than we found, and I'm like, you know what? We just didn't search the right thing. I don't know where that other stock footage was.
I don't know how, because I dedicated like 7 hours one day. I'm like, today is the day I find the stock footage we need. None. We can find anything that we used.
You
Yeah.
were really good at that, and I also learned that in the screenwriting process, I have to write exteriors, like, you know, between scene breaks, like exterior, the bar, you know, like to make sure we either try to shoot something or that we have to find the footage in post.
Right.
Yeah, you learned so many lessons doing this.
Man, and I learned that valuable lesson too of the like importance of connective tissue. But point being, the thing that I really learned and why I'm so grateful, Tosca, especially to you for entrusting me as a pretty new director to do something and, you know, have a budget and make something, is that so much of the value in anything, but I think particularly in film, is learning by doing. Like, I think having made that film, I learned more than I could have learned in like a year of film school. Like, it was a crash course, vertical learning curve. And I feel like I'm already like a 50% better director after one short film with you guys. Like,
Absolutely.
you know, you have to do it. And then that's how you learn.
Yeah, it's I think film is one of the last apprenticeship type industries, you know. So while people are out there and they're studying film, they're going to film school, I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
But until you actually do it, you don't know the pressure that a director is under, or an actor is under, or the various team members are under, but particularly a director, with very limited amount of time to create everything on that page. And as you mentioned, the connective tissue, to make sure that it all can cut together, that you have different ways of cutting it together, that you are able to, you know, the wide, the medium, the close-up shot, if that's the way you're going, but then also to make sure that it's matching with the other actor, that you're getting the performance that you need, that you're conveying everything that you as the director imagined was supposed to be on that screen. So it's, I would imagine that being an acting teacher would help a lot, though, with regards to speaking with the actors.
Yes, so that was easier than the other elements of this.
Although
No, go ahead, Lauren.
We both definitely learned, and I know that I've learned this from Tosca and Margie, that you can take time away, but you can't add time. So definitely let scenes breathe and stuff like that is a huge lesson that we learned
longer.
Yeah,
I know. And like, you know, cut like 5 seconds later, then you feel the instinct to call cut, you know, stuff like that you don't know unless you've done it. And then you're like, oh wow, yeah, never again will I not do that thing.
A couple of times.
When you have a really great DP, like we have Dennis, who does all of my movies. So and this is something for you to know, Olivia, when we go back to filming. When I call cut, he doesn't cut the camera yet. He'll let it roll for, again, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, just a few more, because sometimes those little moments right after I call cut is when an actor will relax for a moment and then look at the other actor and laugh or smile or just give a look over here, something that you'll be able to pick up later on. And use those so many times because it can bring a little bit of life to a scene.
Totally. I completely agree.
Yeah. But I was very proud of you, and I'm very proud of that short. So well done to both of you, and you two. I'm very impressed, Olivia. Well done.
Thank you. No, truly. I mean, the director may be the eye of the storm, but you learn so much about the value of the team that you're surrounded with, and you guys are incredible. So thank you for being an incredible team to work with, incredible producers. Her and Mary, and I mean, we even had the scripty from Driven too. Like, it was the whole
we had Anna.
We had Anna, and she was incredible. So it was wonderful to work with like a bunch of ladies too, and make something. We're just incredible. So
yeah, we had a pretty good crew, and I do have to apologize also that we threw you in on the set where we had a location. It was a great location. It was everything we needed, but because it was like a restaurant still operating, we had to film overnight shoots, which was another thing, another element that just made this fantastic. Is
night through the night, starting at 11.
We ate dinner at 3 a.m. and then it was like, what time is it? We don't know.
Where are we? And I wrapped filming on that at like whatever it was, like 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then at 7 p.m. that day, I flew to London to shadow another director shooting a movie in London. Jojo Myers, or what's that author who wrote Leave It For You?
Yeah, Jojo Moyes. Yeah.
Jojo Moyes, yeah. So a friend of mine was directing another one of her books.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was this really great back-to-back experience watching, it was just so fun. Romance movies are so much fun. They're so fun. And so we were in London on these gorgeous locations, but I slept for 10 hours. I slept the whole 10-hour flight to London. The guy sitting next to the airplane was like, what did you take? I want that. And I was like, oh no, just night shoots. That's all it was. But I had no jet lag. So
incredible.
It's the cure for jet lag.
So you're welcome. We really set you up for success.
Thank you.
There.
You set me up for success.
What was it like shadowing that person, your friend on the set in England?
So it was incredible. So it's being made with Studio Canal and Netflix, and so it was really interesting because Studio Canal is they're distributing it in Europe. Netflix is distributing it domestically in the US. And so there were all of these suits. There were so many people there who wanted to have a say, who don't have, they are money, but they aren't creative, and I don't want to say anything mean about them, but it was fascinating. There were so many people that this poor director friend of mine was beholden to. And so watching her hold her own and navigate all of the little things you have to navigate during the day and all of the mini negotiations and big negotiations you do as a director. So it was really cool to see her navigate that. And it was awesome because her crew loved her and the cast loved her. So she was able to keep like a really great vibe on set, but also they had so much money. They spent an entire day on an eighth of a page, and that was what was scheduled. That was the plan.
So to help anybody else who watches our movie understand, we film 7 to 8 pages a day in our movies. That's Tosca and Dennis's set, 7 to 8 pages a day. And an eighth of a page for a day.
They did an eighth of a page.
Yeah.
And we were at this
page is literally this much, guys. Just it's this much.
That's an exterior shot.
It was her arriving to the house and exiting the house, because they had this huge crane shot and they had period piece cars coming around, and like that's what they did all day, the whole day.
Wow.
So it's fascinating.
Don't even know what to, and then probably that day cost the equivalent of our entire budget of a movie.
Yeah, like it was wild to see just the scale of production and how different it can be. But it was really cool. Everybody was lovely on that set, and I'm excited. It's called if you guys read Jojo Moyes, it's the one where they're writing letters to each other. Takes place in the 60s, and then there's the modern day. Oh, you guys, it'll come to me and then I'll yell it out.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I also don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I think I have quarantine brain. Can that be a thing? Like,
yeah,
it is a thing.
Sure.
I can't recall names of anything
right
now, but
no.
Yeah,
you get a pass.
Thanks, ladies.
Was it After You?
No, it was.
That's the sequel.
The Girl You Left Behind.
No.
Well, that's the only two I could think of.
We'll find out.
Yeah,
we'll find it. Yeah, I'm sure the people watching this will know what we're talking about.
So you know what I was thinking today Today would have been our last day of filming Field and Crashed.
It's so frustrating.
If all had happened, we would have just finished Field and Crashed. And it was actually quite crazy because people are like, because I'm working these really extreme days, and then I'm like, how was I planning on making 3 features at the same time right now, right? Because I would have finished Wicked, Field and Crashed by now. And I don't really know how I'd have done it, but I would have. But yeah, but it was just, I was just so excited, so sad, and you know, I was kind of excited to think, oh, we could have finished it, and then sad that we didn't.
Isn't it funny, after all that time, we finally get it all together, and then 2 days after we have our read through, the world shuts down. And I mean, it like, the only thing I can think is that obviously this movie is going to be shot exactly when it's supposed to be shot, and not any earlier than that. I've just decided that we have been protected. We're protected from something, you know, that this is the way that it needs to be.
Yep, exactly. And this is the way it is. And it's going to be, whether we want it or not, this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about the next 2. And I know Lauren has a few questions and some other folks.
Yeah.
Well, I do. Well, so speaking of Field and Crashed, I thought it would be fun to reminisce a little bit about Driven and talk about, for people who don't know, like what initially drew you to the role of Rylee, where you were when you found out, and all that stuff. You could start about the beginning of it and how it was.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So I was sent the script for this. I read it and then met with Tosca, and I loved Tosca. That was fantastic. And then I found out that I got the offer. I think I was grocery shopping. I was grocery shopping at Lassen's with my boyfriend. And I was like, I have an offer for this. And I was like, my manager, who I'm not with anymore, but she called me and was like, hey, so we have this offer for you. And she called me at 6 p.m. She's like, I'm leaving the office in 30 minutes. You need to let me know one way or the other in the next 30 minutes. And I was like, whoa. And because the timeline on this was, I was sent the script. The next day I met with Tosca. The next day I got this phone call. And I was like, I have whiplash, because we would have started filming 6 days later too, which for anybody else, like, that's not a normal, like, normally I'm cast in something and then 3 weeks later I film it or something. Like, the process is usually like 3 to 4 weeks between being cast and filming. And so I was like, this is a lot. And so I heard that Casey had the offer for Colton. So I called up Casey and I was like, Casey, are we doing this thing? What's happening? Are we doing this? And he was like, yeah. I said yes. I'm like, okay, all right. And he's like, please say yes. And I was like, okay. He's like, I want to do this movie with you. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. Because I was so new to the world of romance. So I read this script and was like, Colton's a jerk. Like, what the heck? And so I had to call up. I was like, I don't like him. What's going on? It's very funny because I feel like art imitates life, imitates art. I was very Rylee about like Colton. I was like, no, I'm not about this kind of man, right? And then I called up my best friend, Sarah. We've been best friends since childhood, and she's an avid romance novel reader. So I called her up and I was like, hey, I just got asked to do this Driven series. What is this? And she's like, oh my God, Olivia, you have to do it. She was like, Rylee is such a badass. It's such a great ending. Like, don't worry. You're a feminist and can do this movie. Like, it's great. And I was like, nice. Yeah. And like, y'all, it took Sarah's stamp of approval. I'm like, I believe you. Because I hadn't had a chance to read Fueled or Crashed. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know. It like Driven. Quarantine brain. Driven ends on such a cliffhanger, you know, and I was like, I don't know, like, this is devastating. And she was like, no, you got to do it. So with all of their powers combined, I was like, all right, let's do this. And so I was excited and terrified. To be totally frank, I was terrified to do this movie. One, because I've done like, and I think this gets to another one of your questions, Lauren, but I've done other movies where I'm the lead before, but they've all been sort of like ensemble casts. And so this really rides entirely on Rylee and Colton, but really, especially Driven, it's a lot of Rylee.
Yeah.
And so it was just terrifying. I was like, oh man. And I felt such a responsibility to the fans and to PassionFlix to like do justice to Rylee. So it's like, oh, the pressure. I was like, so I'm glad it all worked out, but I was really intimidated, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
You killed it though.
You killed it. I mean, no, there is no one else that can play Rylee.
Thank you guys.
Also, I believe you were number one on the call sheet, but you also did not have a day off. Like there were a couple of days where Casey could come in a little late because you were in every scene, I'm pretty sure.
I was in every single scene, yeah. Except there was a little bit of racetrack stuff that he had to do with the film, but I was already on set because I think we shot that second of the day, whatever.
So and that day was a 12 out, like a 12 page.
No, that day was about 15 hours.
15 hours, 12
Yeah.
pages.
It was a beautiful 15-hour day. We got there right as the sun rose.
And through the
and
sunset.
We shot through sunset. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then we had to come back and reshoot some of it in post-production because the sun had gone down so far that we couldn't actually see you and Tawny. So we had to reshoot that.
Yes, the Tawny interaction. Yeah, we got to do that like 2 months later. I was like, oh, hey, girl. Been a minute. Good to see you. Oh, I remember these extensions. Yeah.
And Tosca, I was driving them back to the hotel after filming. This funny story that she and Danielle like to bring up a lot. And I was driving the speed limit, but not noticing this huge dip that most people probably would have slowed down for. But I was at the speed limit, kept going the speed limit, and we just went whoosh.
And we were like, boom,
really
boom,
big bump
boom.
where they were like, whoa, what was that? And I was like, I'm sorry. I know how to drive, I promise. It was really
great.
funny.
It was a bonding experience,
It was fun.
Oh, Lauren.
That was a great day. I'm super excited about how we're going to film the racing in this next one because I've actually now made a bunch of racing friends because I'm like, I got to make this authentic. I got to make this great. So I'm pulling some resources. I'm finding pictures out there and I'm like, that's it. How do I film that crash? And now we have like visual effects coming in and all these things. So that's going to be kind of fun. But I also want it all, I want it all to be from what Rylee sees, right? Yeah. So it's Rylee's perspective.
Yeah. Oh man.
And this is for everybody, have you guys ever been like to a race before or involved in the world, or was this brand new for you with Driven?
So I've been to a Formula One race once in Austin, but I have to be honest, I had no idea what was happening. A friend of mine had invited me and I was like, sure, why not? I'm kind of like, I care if the car is cute and if it has good fuel economy. And that's like the extent to which I engage in any sort of car experience. But Angel, my boyfriend, is obsessed with cars and knows tons about it. So he's actually been educating me a bit about all of the racing stuff.
Yeah,
so that's really good. But no, I really know nothing.
No,
none of you guys either.
No, I haven't been. Oh, go ahead.
No, my grandmother was a massive Formula One race car fan, and so she always had it on. And my grandparents were the first. They won the Cape to Cairo car race from Cape Town to Cairo. I know. So they were racers. And
what a fun fact.
Yeah, I know. Who knew? Racing's in the family. And so I really so that was cool. But when I was younger, just out of school, just out of university, I actually got you get these PA jobs to and I was hired as a PA on this sports show, and I was like, I don't know what it was, but it was I had to go out, and it was like an hour outside of Toronto. And then I get to this racetrack and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a PA at a racetrack. And so normally they, if you're a PA, you're like 5 miles away from anything and holding a sign that says stop go, with a jacket on. And they gave me these credentials to get into the track. And then I was taken into where they were filming all of the Formula One racing. And I think it was Formula One. And what do I know? And but the credentials that they gave me were all access. So I was a PA that got all access to anywhere that you could go. So I was in the pit. I was right while they were changing tires. I was there. I was just like wandering around. And I was like in the where the switches where they switch between cameras in with the executive producers and hanging out there. And they're like, "Hey, how come you're allowed to be there?" And I was like, "I don't know. I was just told to come out here and hang out and see if you guys need anything." And they're like,
That's
"How come you have
awesome.
better credentials than I do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What do you
That
need?"
PA hookup. What are you gonna do?
It was the PA hookup. Yeah, it was awesome. I had a lot of fun, but that was the last time I was on a racetrack.
That's
so cool. You have so many cool connections to racing.
That is really cool.
Allie?
I hadn't been to anything, and Driven was one of the earlier series I read when I was getting into the romance genre, and I almost didn't read it because I saw there was a lot of racing, or a lot to do with racing, and I didn't really care about it. But then I read it and got kind of into it. I mean, I haven't gone to a race or anything, but it interests me more now.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And I didn't realize it was so athletic, that it's like, that you really, there are people who have a talent for driving, and then it's like a real skill, and it takes such athleticism. I was like, I never really understood that before, but
you just
a lot of
sitting there driving.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what? The car is doing everything. But no, apparently the driver's very important. So
the conditions of the road and the feel of the car and the speed you're going around the curve. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Lauren was a race car driver in a past life, because that's her.
You know what? I'm convinced. Much to my
That's right, because you love cars, right?
I love cars. Well, so I was that little nerd in high school because Netflix became more of a thing while I was in high school, so we switched from the DVDs to getting the streaming. And one of the first bigger series that was streaming on Netflix was all of the Top Gear series from the BBC. So I'm the nerd who binged like 18 seasons of Top Gear.
That's amazing.
All these old model cars. So my dream car now, because of watching that show, is a McLaren MP4-12C, which came out in like 2012, 2014. It's a gorgeous car. I want it so bad. And it's semi-road legal. I think it's more road legal now, but when it came out, it was so fast it almost wasn't road legal. And I'm just like,
I just drove a McLaren like a couple. Yeah. So a friend of mine is like a car collector. He like loves cars. It's his hobby. And he bought the most recent McLaren or whatever. And I was terrified of it, but he was like, "You should drive this. It's very fun to drive." And I was like, I'm going to drive your McLaren? And I was like, it had the doors that like,
Those doors stress me out.
I know. And it was neon orange, and I like barely touched the pedal, and I was like, oh my God. It's very exciting. So I'll connect you too. I bet he'd let you drive it too.
Oh, Lord. I'll cry.
I would die. No, yeah, that's one of my dream cars. And my family has been like born and bred in the blood of Ford. Like we're friends with a Ford dealership guy who owns a Ford dealership in Jersey. So he uses our land for his cows sometimes. Like it's just the Jersey farm thing.
Ford.
But my first car was a Ford Explorer, and I would take the country back roads, probably a little too fast around the curves in the Explorer that can tip. But now I have a Ford Fusion, and I love that car. I just love cars. And Ford versus Ferrari is a great movie if anybody wants to watch another car race.
Oh, Lauren, the adrenaline junkie. We had no idea.
Guys,
I have this photo on my desk, and this is very embarrassing, but this is also because I'm a fan of Supernatural, but I have this photo on my desk of them with the car, this 67 Chevy Impala.
Oh my God.
Lauren.
Because I'm obsessed. It's so embarrassing.
That's incredible.
That's also one of my dream cars, but everybody's buying them now that the show is almost over. And some of the cast are Jensen's getting the first prop car. Sam's getting the third one because the second one's like a trash car that they bang up all the time. But they're each taking one, which is very, very cool.
I love that you know all this information.
I know.
I'm such a nerd, and I'm sorry.
That's why we like you.
Sorry. It's amazing.
I was also the nerd who went to 4 years of film school. But my first my first set with Tosca was After Burn Aftershock, and then every set since then I've learned more in like the first year of working with PassionFlix than I did in the 4 years of college. It was nice to have that background so that I was on set not panic attacking. Like I knew kind of what was going on, but you learn so much when you're thrown in the moment. Like we don't learn how to use walkie-talkies as crew at college. And you learn so much more when you get the director in action, especially a director like Tosca. She's just brilliant. So
it was so true.
Yeah.
So true.
Thanks. It's great to have a team.
Yes.
If they didn't show up, I would be like, nice.
Yeah, right.
Where's the wine?
So I thought we could also delve into a little bit of what was the most memorable part of filming Driven, because I know there was lots of fun times, and some of it is recorded in the blooper reel. If you haven't watched the Driven bloopers, which is like 30 some minutes on PassionFlix, you can check that out. And this was your first time working with Tosca and us at PassionFlix, and I was wondering if you could tell listeners a little bit about if that, like, what that experience was like, and if it was different from any of your previous sets before then, and you know.
Yeah. Well, I think something that we touched on a little bit already is the sort of like being number one on the call sheet thing, being the lead of this thing and feeling the responsibility of that. That was new, because I was in every single scene and on every page. And so I'd never been like that before. But I loved it. I loved that about it. And also I think it was the second set I'd ever been on that had a female director. So that was also cool too, because the first set that I had been on with a female director was actually that indie movie that I booked in college, the one that the open call one. And she was originally a documentary filmmaker, and this was her first narrative venture. So she was very new, and it was tiny budget and blah, 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 blah. So it was a very different experience. So this was very cool, because I think especially given the like nature of the thing that we're shooting, there's so much vulnerability emotionally, but also physically. And having a female director on set was like such a game changer. I was like, this is great. And you were so easy and lovely to work with, and so communicative. And like the bigger sets that I've been on, it's just like, it's a different feeling, and especially different with a male director, and male directors are fabulous too. But I think for this story in particular, it was so wonderful to have a female director on set. And then, yeah, it was just something else that was different was being beholden to books and being beholden very specifically to them. And that honestly was a fun challenge, because the cool thing about being beholden to a book is that the book tells you everything you need to know about what you're supposed to do. So it was like I had a manual for Rylee. It was fantastic. So I loved that about this role. And what else was new? I mean, honestly, the newness was really in how much I had to work per day. It was like a gauntlet of a shoot, being on every single page. And it was just a dialogue heavy script because it's based on a book. And so I was learning more dialogue than I'd ever learned. But it was so much fun. I mean, honestly, it was a very like affirming experience. I was like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I really like this. So thank you for this movie.
Definitely. Well, what I love about it is that some of the lines in Driven, they're difficult. They're difficult to say, right? Because you can read them in a book, but then when you actually when you have to say them in real life, you're like, how the hell am I gonna say that line? Like, you know, I remember when we were shooting the line, and she's like, is that what I would be inconsequential? And initially it was like, you know, almost aggressive. And I was like, no, let's try it. I want you to seduce him. Say consequential with seduction in mind. And it was a very different way of saying it.
So good. I'm so glad you gave me that note too. I was like, oh, it was like it illuminated. I was like, I understand now.
Going here, for sure.
Yeah.
What I loved about how you handled it and how you were able to take those notes is that while we were writing Fueled and Crashed, there were some lines in there, and I'm like, whoa, these are some whammy lines. Here are some lines. And the whole time I'm like, she can do it. She can do it. Olivia can do it. I have no doubt Olivia can pull this line off.
Thank you.
Okay, Olivia can pull it off. We're good. We're gonna do it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible acting workout in that way, because I think the magical thing that we discover in making movies is that you find out that the exciting moments exist between the lines and in the relationship and sort of like in this white space. So then incorporating lines that people love and making them true to and supportive of the moment that you're creating just by being in space with each other is like, it was incredible for me as an actor. I feel like I learned so much. It was like an acting boot camp. It was awesome.
You'll know all of Colton's lines, basically. There's a part of the blooper reel where Dennis has the camera on her. It's between setups, and and Casey's reviewing some of the lines, and she's just like,
I felt like such a bitch, but it's funny because yeah, I mean, because Casey and I are friends outside in real life, and so we would get together and run lines and stuff, and I felt like an AD. And for people who aren't in film, it's the people who like keeps everything on track and is aware of the schedule and is very in charge of logistics. And so with Casey, I was very much the AD of our acting situation. And I was like, Casey, we're meeting up after we wrap today, and we're running these lines for at least an hour because I know you will not be memorized otherwise. And I was like, we're gonna get these lines down. Yeah. But it was also for me too, because we had so much dialogue to learn. I was like, we have to.
Yeah.
We have to.
You know what? Here's another scene. Can I if you guys remember our last episode, because of course the movie was supposed to be a movie. It's a 95-page script that ended up being 2 hours and 40 minutes, which was not intentional at all, except for the fact that I like to shoot really, really long. Like, just take your time. Just do it. Just whatever. It doesn't matter how long it's going to be. Just keep talking.
2 hours.
But the what I loved, so it's the scene sitting on the steps at Colton's house and you telling him about the accident.
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole thing, we're just far back behind you, and we're shooting behind you, and you basically dove into this monologue, which was so great. And I'm shooting the whole thing, and as I'm filming it, I go, I don't need to shoot anymore. Normally, we would go in and be like, I have to get coverage, I have to shoot the face, and I have to shoot this, I have to shoot this, I have to shoot that. And I was like, I don't have to do it. She did it all in one shot. And that was so beautiful. And to me, that's just so wonderful. I mean, as an actor, as a sort of actor's director, a director that loves to work with actors and really allow that performance of the actor to breathe on a screen. I just love that you were able to portray all those levels in one take. It's so unheard of. It was so great.
Oh, thank you.
It was really impressive. Cool. We were all off to the side, like,
oh. Yeah, well, that what's funny about that scene is that I think, Lauren, one of the other questions you'd shot over to me was, what was your favorite scene to film in Driven? And that ended up being my favorite. And what's crazy about it is that I don't know if you remember this, Tosca, but that was the scene I was most terrified of. And actually, yeah, and even more so than like the sex scenes. I was like, oh no, this monologue is going to be the end of me. I cannot pull this off. I have no idea. And I was like, can we make it a montage? Can we trim it down? I was like pitching stuff because I was like, no, this is hard. I don't like it. And then on the day, it just ended up working. Yeah. And I think it's one of those great things where, it's sort of like a life lesson, and definitely a lesson in film, that you just don't know when or where the magic is going to happen. And sometimes, the thing you're most afraid of is the thing that ends up being most beautiful, or, these like sort of happy accidents that happen. But yeah, I was like, I want to find a way. I was like really campaigning to like do something about that scene and that monologue. And it worked out. So I'm really, I'm thrilled that you guys got what you needed, and that it worked. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautifully.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure.
You incredible woman, you've been really great with a lot of our fans as well. Cause I know there were a couple of set days that we had family members come to visit, like the charity event where you and Colton meet for the first time. We had a bunch of family members that day, and you guys were really great about taking photos with them and chatting with them. And then you also joined us at Book Bonanza last year, which was a huge experience because you showed up and everybody was like, And everybody got in a line because they all wanted to meet you and like get you to sign a book, because Christy had been there selling more of her Driven books, so you got to sign a bunch of copies for fans, and they just really appreciated you. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what those experiences were like for you on the back end side.
I mean, I think this is part of the other thing that's made the PassionFlix experience so unique and so special as compared to other jobs I've worked, is this incredible fan base. Like, I had no idea. I didn't know what I didn't know. I did not know about this romance community. And it was so cool. And, you know, nowadays I'm trying to like think back to a life before PassionFlix and these wonderful women. I'm like trying to remember, but at the time, I remember when we first started filming Driven, and the first picture of me was posted, and then I, in a day, got like 5,000 more followers, and I was like, what's happening? And I was just blown away by how remarkably supportive the fan base is, and like attentive and caring and kind and thoughtful. Like, it's been remarkable. And so you know, those days on set, it was very cool because the fans, you guys are incredible. You're so respectful, because it's such a tough line to toe, because I'm at work, you know, when you guys come to set, I'm doing my job. So there's this thing that I have to do and be focused for. But then I also am so excited to meet all of you and want to spend time with you. And I was just so impressed that the fans were, and that all of you and the founding members were so respectful of that like you guys were there and were patient and were wonderful and excited to be there. And I know some of the days we had founding members there were really long shoot days, like, and kind of into the night. And I remember going home and I was like, oh my gosh, they're like such good sports. Like, you guys are awesome. And yeah, and then Book Bonanza, that took it to a whole other level. I didn't understand, again, I didn't understand the scope of the romance novel community, but you get there and we're at this convention center that is a city in and of itself. It is so massive. And, you know, there are like thousands and thousands of women there. And I remember I arrived at the hotel and I was in like loungewear and had not gotten ready yet to, you know, meet everybody. And I'm like walking down the hallway to get to my room, and somebody recognizes me just like walking down the hallway. And I was like, wait, surely they do not mean me. What has happened? What, me? I was like not used to that. And so, yeah, it was just a wild experience, but I was so grateful to get another window into that community and be able to hang out with all of them and be able to, I think Christy talked about it when you guys were interviewing her on the other podcast, but I did not know how to do social media or what to do with social media. I ignored social media. And then you guys came along and were like, this is how social media works.
Let's engage. Let's engage. You know, this is what's going to happen.
Yes. And so it was so fun. And I'm so grateful for it and so happy for it. And I know, just a disclaimer to the fans, I've been a little MIA on social media of late because quarantine and pandemic has me overwhelmed. But I wanted to say that I am just now getting back into social media. So I will start responding again and posting things again very soon. But I have so much love for the fans. Like, being an actress in an industry that's really hard, it's just wonderful to have a community of supportive women. It's like, I didn't know how important that would be for me.
Yeah, and they love you.
Oh my God, yeah.
I love them back. Y'all are awesome.
Like, I have a question for you. At Book Bonanza, you got to meet a couple of our other stars, so PassionFlix stars, our New York contingent.
Yes.
You got to meet, David Gregory and Jordan.
I mean, are they not the sweetest people on the planet?
They're so awesome.
Hands down.
I mean,
yeah,
I just
no contest.
I don't know how any woman doesn't want to be friends with Jordan, and I don't know how any straight woman doesn't want to be married to David. Like, you know what I mean? They're just like these glorious, beautiful, kind anomalies of human beings. I'm like, they're flawless and fabulous. Yeah, I was like,
love you and love everyone and love each other.
I remember I was just looking at them like, I know. I feel like at times I caught myself just staring, being like, that's real. They're real people. And they're really that wonderful. Oh my God. And they were fresh off of filming, right?
they didn't experience the whole movie being released yet that you had. So it was kind of cool. I think you guys chatted a little bit about the craziness that was to come.
Yeah. And it was so fun. And they were so down, and and they're so smart and intelligent, and they care so much about the work that they do. I thought they were wonderful.
Yeah. They joined us last week for a podcast, and it was really sweet to see them again.
I watched part of theirs too. I've been watching the podcast. These are so fun.
Awesome. They're fun.
Yeah, I went down the rabbit hole and watched like 3 hours worth the other night. I was like, yeah, my ladies. I haven't seen you in a minute.
No, it's awesome. Tosca was like, we need something to release.
Yeah. I think I mentioned it was like Friday night, and I'm watching a show, and I was like, man, we need to start talking about our books, and we need to do a book show. Let's do a thing. Let's do something cool with Zoom or whatever we're going to do. And by Monday, I came back, and Allie and Lauren are like, okay, so we're doing this podcast like this and this. And I'm like, okay, sounds great.
I was just so happy too, because I missed you guys.
I know. Nice to see each other's faces.
Yeah, everyone, invite people to have conversations with us, and I love it. It's so much fun because I get to see everyone, because otherwise we're all alone.
It's so much fun. I love it. Like, anytime y'all want to have me back or do a Q&A with fans or whatever, like, let me know, because otherwise I'm just melting.
Now they're gonna ask for just kidding. No, that would be fun. That'd be really fun.
I volunteered myself. I like but yeah, I think it's so great, because I didn't realize I was I think I'm pretty introverted, but now that we've all been trapped in our homes, I'm like, oh, humans, like, please come talk to me. I miss you. So I feel you, Allie. I was like, yeah, I'd love to chat with you guys for a little while. Talk to me. Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. And so I also thought we would be remiss to not talk about the fact that Fueled and Crashed will feature a new Colton, who you have met. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what the first time was like meeting him. Nobody knows who he is, and they're not allowed to know who he is.
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
I will give no spoilers.
No spoilers.
Thank you.
You'll be in
for the
trouble.
reminder.
How were you feeling? Because you guys had that. I think we've talked about this in Christie's. It was, hi, Margie. You guys you sat down for a table read, and then you guys read the whole script, which, by the way, I have a photo of, because my desk is in that back corner behind Tosca, and I may or may not have taken some pictures just in case.
Oh, Lauren, we're about to get a million Facebook messages about that right now. It's the picture. I'll put a smiley face over his head.
There you go.
But you can't see who he is. It's from his back. Anyway, but yeah, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about what that was like.
Yeah, well,
you guys met
for coffee first. Yeah.
Ooh.
So this was actually really fun. So we met at the 101 Diner in Hollywood, which
love that diner. Swingers.
Yeah. So people who aren't from LA or aren't familiar, it is like a classic, like 50s Hollywood diner. It's very retro. It's super fun. And so I get there, and I'm like walking in, and in the diner, it's like booths on the side by the window, and then a counter where you can have counter service. And I'm walking in, and like, it's like bright in there, and he's a little backlit, and I'm like, who is that man sitting in that booth? Straight up, I was like, oh, I hope he's who I'm meeting, because I was like, mm-hmm. And so I walk in, and it was just like so romantic and like out of a movie. He was like sitting there waiting, and he's in his Henley, and it's all tight on him, and he's like lit by the window, and then he's like looking down, and then he looks up, and he's like, hey. And I'm like, I was like, all right, okay.
That's incredible.
So anyway, yeah. And so it was lovely. He's wonderful. And I remember too, my agents were like, please call us as soon as you're out. Email us as soon as you're out. PassionFlix wants to know how you feel about him. They want to make sure it's a good match. Like, please let us know. And I'm like, yeah, of course I will. And then I get out of this meeting with him, and I have like a bunch of missed calls from my agent. I have a couple emails, and I'm like, what the heck? And then I realized that we'd been talking for like 3 hours. I was like, and they were expecting it to be like a 45-minute meeting. And so by the time I was out of there, it was like 6:30, and it was like end of day. And I was like, oh, that's why they were really been calling me. But yeah, so that's our first meeting. It was very fun. It was very like, it was just really fun. And yeah, and then we did the table read with Tosca, and I was so impressed with him because he'd already read the books and he'd already read at least Fueled, I think, by the time we did the table read. It was like already into Crash. And I just remember like when we were doing when we met at that coffee shop, I was telling him more about Passion Flicks and, you know, about like the sort of inception of this company and what it's about and what the fans are like and all of these things. And I'm like, they're going to be women and they're going to be curious about you. So are you ready? And I'm like, and we're going to do scenes together. And like, are you ready? And then I remember he was like sitting there and he was like thinking about it and he's thinking about it. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. He was just like fully committed and total conviction. He was like, yeah, I'm down. Let's like make a movie. And I was like, all right, this sounds good.
Yeah. So, I love when you guys came in here to do the table tour. Initially, the idea was like, we'd probably just read a little bit and just get an idea as to what it's gonna be like. And then, and I had meetings that were scheduled afterwards. And I was like, just kept pushing the meeting back and back, because we just kept reading the script over. And it took us like 4 hours.
Something like that, yeah.
Script, which is not a 4-hour script. And so it was like, okay. And I also loved like the way, just from my perspective of watching the two of you, so he'd be saying some of these lines and he's like, so that's the line I'm gonna say. And Olivia would let him go, yep, and you're not gonna change it. And he's like, great, got it, understand, got it, no problem. I can make that happen. I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it. And
I know.
He's ready.
Yeah.
And then we're like, and you're not going to change any lines, and you're going to say these lines, and you're going to say them with the Colton conviction. And he's like, yeah, it's kind of fun. It sounds great, you know.
Yeah.
Love it. Like, I read the book and the books because he was into school at the time, and it's kind of nice knowing what's going on in his head. And I was like, yeah.
The books are such a gift for the actors. Oh my God. Yeah. Like, it's incredible. Yeah. And I remember I cracked up so hard with when we got to the car sex scene, he was like, no problem.
Yeah, I know. That was like the best.
I was like, thank God, because I don't know the logistics of that situation.
Like, yeah, I grew up in a small town. We figured it out when we were young. We're like, what? He's like, oh yeah, I know how to do that.
Sounds
like,
good.
Great. We'll just take your direction on that then.
Yeah, you can go ahead and lead. You'll be the leader on that one. Sounds good.
Just stand back here with the camera. I'll say action.
Yeah, it was great. I was like, okay, I'm in good hands.
Yeah,
I'm in good hands.
I love it. And he's cute. That was a great smile.
Oh my gosh, yeah. He's got one of those great faces that, like, you know, when it's in stillness, you're like, oh, that is like a rugged sort of dangerous man. And then he cracks a smile and you're like, and I want to love him forever. Like, you know what I mean? It's like that. Like that.
I kept getting up to walk by the office when you guys were doing your read. Just to swoon. Just to
say. Yeah. I know. There's something about like when you have like a really manly man in a room, there's just something about it. You're just like,
yep.
Yeah, I'll just hang out here for a while. This is a comfortable place to be.
So without, giving away any, physical features, obviously.
Okay.
What are 3 words you would use to describe him?
You could use some. I just described him so much. If I could,
all the words that you just used.
Yeah. Manly comes to mind, and rugged comes to mind.
Ooh, yeah.
But also kind comes to mind. Like, yeah, he's got a tender heart under there.
He opened the door for you. I remember that.
He did. He's such a freaking gentleman.
Very
like,
yeah,
such a gentleman. Oh.
Yeah.
And
I hate it. I love it. I love it. I hate it. Flustered over here.
This one. It's gonna be love-hate. And Tosca, many Passionistas have asked, do you plan to reshoot the last heart-wrenching scene from Driven with the new Colton?
We do have to. It replays in the book. So in the book it replays, so we reshoot it. It's exactly the same. So because you see it from a different perspective in the book, we want to see the same thing. So yeah, we will have to reshoot the whole thing. The
That'd be
whole
exciting.
end scene.
And Tosca and Olivia, are there any scenes in particular you guys are excited to film in Fueled and Crashed, just based off the script so far?
Well, I'm weirdly excited about the car sex thing now that we have an expert on set.
Olivia.
I'm not scared about it anymore. That's pretty good.
That's fair.
I'm no longer terrified. I mean, similar to, oh yeah, sorry, spoiler alert. Oh yeah, spoiler alert. I think the scene that I'm terrified in the upcoming shoots, like I was terrified of the monologue in the first movie, is the scene where I lose the baby. Spoiler alert. So I'm like, spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty intense.
Yeah, so I'm riding that like thin edge of excitement and terror. And
great.
when I think about that scene comes to mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm also excited for like drunk Colton and like Vegas and Florida and all of that.
I'm excited about the Florida thing. I love the fight that you guys, I love that sort of fight battle, this intensity of like, I love you, I hate you, stay away from me, come back. It's that sort of push pull, and then finally being, locked in the room basically by
Bex.
Bex. Yeah. And it's like, it's kind of great. Like, figure this thing out. Stop, figure it out. You're like, okay. So
that's a great scene.
Yeah, that's fun and Fueled. And then of course the car crash and then the recovery.
Yeah. And those are the other scenes on the list of excitement, terror.
Yeah, excitement, terror.
Yeah.
How the hell am I gonna pull that off? All right, here we go, guys.
Movie magic, y'all. It's amazing how it always comes together.
Somebody get a bunch of smoke machines.
Yeah. That was another thing when I was talking with the future Colton. He hadn't had a chance to watch anything yet. He'd only started reading it. And I was like, oh, you got to watch these things. And he watched the first thing of Driven, the first episode, and he texted me immediately and was like, this stuff is great. It's so cinematic. It's beautiful. I was like, yeah, you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very lucky that I have an extremely experienced team that works with me to make these movies, because on our budgets, normally we wouldn't have such extremely experienced people. But I have Dennis and Margie, who have so many years experience working on super high budget studio movies. And they have such a brilliant knowledge of filmmaking and storytelling that they're able to do things on a different level that I think somebody with less experience. But I mean, they've worked on some of Hollywood's biggest movies. So
yeah, and it's you feel it. Yeah, you feel it in the movies. They're so cinematic. Yeah,
that's great. So I thought we could break up some of the questions with a really quick little fun lightning round of cute questions that we asked some of these to David and Jordan, and they had some fun answers. So I thought I'd ask them for you, and then we'll jump to some founding member questions and then kind of wrap it up. So could you tell us one of your hidden talents?
Oh gosh. I guess baking, apparently, as it turns out. Baking. Oh, another weird talent. I'm very good at guessing what time it is. I'm always within like 2 minutes of being accurate.
Olivia, what time is it?
Well, I see it's 3:52 right now.
Okay,
I see it on the screen.
Right.
I'd already seen it, sorry. But when we're filming, you guys can quiz me and be like, what time is it? And I'll probably be right within like 5 minutes.
That's really cool.
Wow.
It's not
it's not me. I'm the opposite. I'm like, what time is it? And you're like, I don't know, is it still 10 o'clock? No, Tosca, it's 10 p.m. It's 10 a.m. anymore. I'm like, how did 12 hours go by? What just happened?
Oh my God, that's
Did we do anything? Yes, Tosca, we've done a lot of things. I'm like, okay, great. Did we do enough?
When we're in the office.
Tosca has just, in summary, described the abject terror you feel as a director. That is it, in like a nutshell. Yeah. Lauren, what were you gonna say?
In the office, I tell time by Margie either saying out loud or texting all of us 4:20. For when the time 4:20 shows up.
She just walked out there
That's amazing.
and then she goes back in.
Yeah. Just like, thank you, Margie.
Oh, when I first started too, I was like, who's this Margie chick? Why is she saying it's 420 every day? It's pretty awesome.
She's our badass editor. That's who she is.
She's a magical person.
The next question is, what is your dream role, if you have one?
Yeah. Well, recently I've been wanting to do like an action role, like where I get to like kick some butt and do some stunts and stuff. So that's like a sort of a new thing that I recently have been like, that could be really fun to do. But traditionally, I've always wanted to be in like a period piece romance.
Lauren.
Good to know, because my plan is eventually us doing Regency. So
Yep.
if you can do a perfect accent, we'll get you into that.
Work on that English. Otherwise, it'll be like Civil War.
Right. Which, hey man, there's some stories down there too.
I do a mean accent. I also do a mean Southern accent too.
Can you do English?
I can. Yeah. I'll have to dust it off, but
yeah.
I did learn. Yeah.
And this is a tough question, Olivia. What's your favorite movie, if you had to pick one?
So my favorite childhood movie is Remember the Titans. I was obsessed with it. I watched it at least once a week, like from like 11 to 15 or something. As an adult, much harder question, but I think one of my favorite things that I've seen recently, I actually went and saw with Margie, and it was Little Women. I loved that movie. I thought it was beautiful.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
So good.
I love
so that's my current favorite.
Greta Gerwig's on my wall right here as a caricature on top of her Lady Bird.
Oh, cool.
There are all these female directors in my room with some romance comic books, actually. I've got a weird theme.
I'm on that.
Where's Tosca's picture? Oh,
you don't have a caricature on top of a script page yet. So right now I just have Nora Ephron, Mindy Kaling, Greta Gerwig, and Nancy Myers.
She was saving the center spot just for you.
Yeah.
I'm kind of crushed and kind of really happy that my picture is not in your room.
Yeah.
It'd be a little creepy.
I feel like I'm a little weirded out. But Olivia, when I'll take it up on Lauren's wall, then we're like, we've made it.
There you go.
Yeah, right?
And your favorite book, to jump to the next question?
Okay, again, favorite book as a child. As a child, it's so much easier. My favorite book as a child was this book called The Bookstore Mouse. And then right now, though, I just read Little Fires Everywhere, and I really liked it. And right now, I'm reading the entire Game of Thrones series.
Oh my God.
That's intense.
I just read it. I want to.
Yeah, now is the time, girl. I'm like.
I have it. I can.
Then I want to borrow it.
Yeah. So I've just finished the first book, and I'm really loving those books. But I don't know. I'm taking requests and suggestions for books because I don't have a favorite that jumps out at me. But those are what I'm reading currently.
Yeah.
The fun Instagram posts sometimes are to be like, what book would you recommend? So maybe one of your next posts can be, and then
I feel like
throw them at
I feel like the fans of PassionFlix will have some really great suggestions. I feel like they know a thing or two about books. I don't know why I think that, but I feel like maybe they do.
Yeah. My most I remember a book that I loved from my childhood was Goodnight, Mr. Tom. Which
I don't know that one.
It's a book, takes place during World War II when young kids were sent out from the city to live with basically strangers in the country to keep them safe. Wow. Oh, it was so good. I just remember that book. And so one day when I'm not doing PassionFlix, I don't know if that's realistic. That's a book adaptation I'd love to do. But I mean, it's a story of love between more of a grandfather figure and a young boy. So I think I can still fit it into the mandate in the very future. Big future. But,
that sounds beautiful.
I love that.
What about you, Ellie and Lauren?
I have one of those books, a book that I hope to someday adapt, called Airborne by Kenneth Opel. I read it freshman year of high school for some reason. It was on one of our summer reading lists. I have it on my bookshelf over here. And I loved it. It follows a 13-year-old cabin boy on a dirigible, like a cabin cruiser blimp, in this 1930s, 40s era, like San Francisco to Australia flight, but in a world where planes were never invented. So all of the air travel is either by hot air balloon or dirigible or like these other weird flying contraptions. And he follows in his father's footsteps to become like one of the sail patchers on that ship, and he's a cabin boy to start. And he meets this girl who's trying to find the same path that her grandfather took before he died, to find these like cloud cat creatures on this mysterious island, and they end up getting stranded, and there's like air pirates, and this is like mini romance because they start liking each other and while trying to make these scientific discoveries. It's super cute, and I can see it either as like a Studio Ghibli movie or you know, a live action movie. So I'm dying at some point to make that.
Sounds amazing.
Ones from my childhood.
When way in the future of PassionPod, right?
Way in the future of PassionPod.
I love it. I'm down. I've already actually talked to the author quite a few times over email, and my most recent email transaction with him was when I was interning on the Paramount lot at a development business, Di Bonaventura Pictures, who did all the Transformers movies and Stardust and a couple other ones.
This one reminds me of Stardust. Is it like that?
It's similar. It's very similar. So I actually, before I left that company, I pitched it to them. I don't know if they took it, but I emailed the author saying that because I reached out to him after I read the book and I loved it, and he was very nice, responded a year later and was like, thanks so much for loving it. And so I emailed him while I was working at that job, and I was like, I'm working in development now. And 4 hours later, he responded with, here's my agent's name, my film and TV rights agent's name. And I was like, okay, thank you. So I have that info if we ever need it, Tosca.
There you go.
It can happen.
And he's a Canadian author, which is why I can never find his book here anymore. But he's a Canadian children's author. He's really cool.
And you, Ellie?
And now.
As a teenager or a preteen, I remember Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I used to love that book.
Nice.
And then I think one of my all-time favorites is Memoirs of a Geisha.
Wow. Yeah.
That's one of my favorites, and I would like to see that movie remade at some point. Just a thought. It was beautiful, but it didn't. I wanted more. So Tosca, there's another one just to throw in randomly.
Hey, I love book adaptations. My thing. I love
that book so much. I loved it.
Incredible. And I thought, so now we can jump to some of the founding member questions. Right off the bat, I post in the lounge and people comment their questions, and Christy's in the lounge, so she was like, why are you so awesome? Is what she wanted to ask you. And she said hi. Hi.
Hi, Christy. Why are you so awesome? Tell her that. Okay.
She posted a picture that her mother had found of her as a
looking gorgeous. Yeah.
I mean, of the like perfect hair.
Yeah, she looks the same.
But her hair hasn't changed. She looks the same. I don't know how that's possible. I do not look like anything. I don't look anything like I did when I was younger. Nothing.
Really? Oh, wow.
No,
I can't tell. I'm not objective about that at all. I'm like, that looks like me. Sure. That also looks like me. Oh, that's really sweet. Hi, Christy. Thank you.
And Erin asks, what do you relate to the most with Rylee? Like, what part of Rylee did you relate to the most when you were getting ready for the role?
Well, I think I related to Rylee a lot and on several levels. One of which is I think we have similar like sort of bleeding heart qualities. Like I love people and I love to take care of people, and you know, I was always finding stray animals and like bringing them home and wanting to take care of things. And I've got like, I think she and I share the same sort of compassionate heart in that way. We really care about those who are hurting and want to be helpful. And then we also have in common that we date the bad boy types. Most of my life has been spent dating like, you know, former rock star types. Ooh. And like, you know, these sort of like edgier dudes that are kind of these like bad boys, but that have these like very tender insides. And I'm like, I see your tender insides. So yeah, you guys, I mean, I feel a lot like Rylee. I'm like, I might be walking around life as Rylee. Actually, I might not have been acting in that movie. That might have just been like,
you can say all those lines.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So Rylee resonated with me on like a really deep level. I really like her a lot. Yeah.
I love that. And Alice doesn't have a question, but wanted you to know that you smashed Rylee in Driven, and she can't wait for the same in Fueled and Crashed. So she's excited and wishes you good luck.
Thank you.
And Patty asks, do you have a dream movie that you would like to direct or produce?
Oh, wow.
It's hard question.
That's really hard. I don't know yet. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I think I'd love to do another romance story, but I haven't picked it out yet. I just think they're so fun and they're so great. And like, especially in this quarantine, I'm like looking for things to watch. And I'm like, oh, I want to watch like romance or comedy or something. So right now I'm very interested in directing something funny or heartfelt, or both.
And what about you, Tosca? I'll throw this question at you as well.
Is there something that I want to direct?
Like a dream movie you would want to direct?
Oh, this is so good. Well, so the amazing thing about PassionFlix is that I'm currently living my dream. So I'm very fortunate in that regard, right? So I get to direct romance novels, and romance is my favorite genre. And I get to pick a lot of these movies. And unlike your friend who was directing in London, I don't have a bunch of suits who are there. I get to do whatever I feel is the best thing for that particular movie that the author loves and the fans love. And so it's pretty much a dream come true, because I also control the distribution. So of course it all depends on whether or not people like the movies, and people have to subscribe. But at the end of the day, we're not beholden to advertisers or men in suits or accountants or anything like that. We are beholden only to the authors and the fan. And as we are fans, it's a dream. So that's where the dream starts, which is good. A dream movie that I would love to direct. I actually have a romance that takes place in Africa that I wrote, and it's very epic, and it's very out of Africa-esque, but with a happy ending. And so that's something that I would like to write and direct, which we will be able to do for PassionFlix in the future. But that one's really great, because I'd love to be able to direct anything with I like to take socially relevant issues and surround them with an epic love story and present that to the world, so that I feel that I have a very positive impact on people. So if I can take, any subject matter that's socially relevant and helps society and helps the environment or animals or whatever it is, and then just wrap it with a beautiful love story, that's my goal. That's what I would like.
Into that, Tosca.
Come on over. We can do it together.
I mean, I think that it's part of the reason why I got into this and finally made the jump over to acting, is because I think storytelling is so powerful. And I think the images we see inform how we see ourselves and how we are seen, right? Which is part of the reason why I was so excited to do a PassionFlix movie, because I was like, oh yeah, it's women creating movies about women for women, at least right now, and it expands beyond that, obviously.
That's always our goal. Cool. I'd be great for men to watch, but our goal is women. We're very focused on the female viewpoint, and I'm very happy with 51% of the world watching PassionFlix.
Right.
So fine with me. The men have their Fast and Furious, although I'll watch that too.
We do have a lot of husbands and partners though who have been sweet and will watch with their wives and ladies and end up loving it too, which is fun. And the next question is, what type of scenes are the hardest for you to get into character for? Which I think you touched on a little bit, but maybe you can expand upon it.
Yeah, I mean, just the emotionally intense ones, you're always sort of like, all right, yeah, I gotta do these justice, But then there's also just characters that are a little farther from you. Like Rylee was a joy to play because I relate so deeply to her on a personal level. But then I've played other roles that are so much farther from like my essence and me as a person and how I think and operate and move through the world. So those are a fun challenge, but they're harder. They're harder because you're like, it's as if you're rewiring your brain to play a new character. And the like thoughts and beliefs and behaviors don't come instinctually at first. You have to sort of like get them in your body. So I don't know if that answers that question, but that's yeah, that's what I would say.
I love it. And then this is the last question, and I want to say it's for everybody. It's who is your favorite actor or actress of all time?
All time?
All time.
So
who's your favorite actor of all time, and who's your favorite actress? Or both, you know. Sorry, Olivia.
I don't want to go first. Somebody else go first.
I think you should go first.
I mean, we gotta do like Meryl Streeps and stuff like that. They're up there. Katharine Hepburn. Of all time.
Two of my all-time faves are Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. Like, I'll never not love their combination. So
that combo is fantastic.
Yeah,
I do love
Cary Grant, Jude Law. You know, just
I love a Jessica Chastain. I love a Jessica Chastain. And I do like, you know who else I really like? I'm biased though. So my great aunt Margaret Hamilton was an actress, and she played the Wicked Witch of the West in the original Wizard of Oz. And so that's sort of my like only connection. I know, isn't that wild? So yeah, it's wild. And so but I learned a little bit about her career, and she was an incredible woman and was able to do some remarkable things in Hollywood in her time, and you know, was like one of the first sort of major female character actors. So I like her a lot.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I don't want to just, I love Brad Pitt, not just because he's beautiful, but any movie he's in, I love watching him. And everything he's been in, he always draws me in. I think he's just fantastic.
Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's her boy.
Yeah, I've also weirdly been on a Chris Hemsworth tip of late. I'm sorry.
Same. Did you watch his videos instructing workouts and stuff? Because just,
I mean, it's.
I mean, he came out with it right in time for the quarantine. I just took a glass of wine and.
I know. I'm like, yikes. Anyway, so a little bit of Chris Hemsworth in my day too.
Incredible. Well, great. It was so awesome to have you with us today, Olivia. It was good to see your face again.
So good to see all of you. I can't wait to work with you all soon when we can all be in person together.
Yeah.
We're
hoping still for this year, so.
Hey, let's do it. I'm so down. I've had a nice rest, a nice 2-month-long rest. I'm so well rested. Let's do it. Yeah, I think that'd be great.
As soon as they open.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, ladies. Thank you so much.
Bye.
I love Olivia.
She's so cute.
So much.
I can't wait to work with her again.
I know, T. You were just like, I need this. I need my girl back. I need driven story back, and then this happens.
Olivia in general is just so pleasant to work with. She's so prepared, and she's just so excited about the work, and she has such huge respect for what we're doing. So I mean, I'd put her in any role. I'm very fortunate that I get to work with. I mean, I don't know any of the actors that I've worked with that I wouldn't work with again. I should just do like you know what would be great? We should do like a Big Chill starring all of the actors that worked with me.
Absolutely.
Redo a version of the Big Chill.
That would be really cool. I love that. Awesome. All right, ladies. Well, I love you. This is great. And we'll see each other again soon.
Yes. See you next week.
Bye.
And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. And thanks for listening and watching.